Tara knew that her assailant wasn't gonna make us any safer, and knew he's just the type of man to hand a decent foreign leader US printed walking papers, and knew he'd be relentless and aggressive in the war he'd wage upon her very character, that his attempts to weaken and degrade and embarrass her would be her only compensation. But I strongly doubt that anyone could ever have foreseen the stream of hate that came from quote-unquote progressives and the self-styled titans of survivor advocation. So if you really think there's something to be gained out of sharing your pain with the world, you are sorely mistaken. The Biden team just dragged their feet addressing Tara's allegations. Until they had a decent list of smears, then they aired them out on every station. And it turns out no one wants to hear the truth of who they praised as being worthy of such bloated liberal celebration. That no one wants to really know the person they've so valiantly defended, even when it meant they had to gloat and shit all over someone braver than they'd be if given the occasion. Now cue the faceless comment squad invasion. Cue those fuckers crawling out the woodwork to come analyze the way you wore your hair and what you wear. Like your appearance waives your rights, or that somehow you're the reason for your situation. Somehow they've decided you should bear responsibility for what such monstrous men insist on doing. Somehow they're deluded by the empty, hypocritical, and useless fucking platitudes that bastard keeps on spewing. And I think it's very telling that the best of their excuses when they try to come and justify our president's abuses is a hearty butt Trump. In which case I'll remind you that you never saw the news attempt to sell us Donald Trump like he was morally upstanding or a decent human. But when Joe says something bigoted or ogles someone's little kid, CNN says, "Isn't this refreshing? Biden's like a mix of JFK and FDR with all the finer parts of Harry Truman." Christ, I know that they don't think that we're the brightest, but at least pretend we got a couple lumens. Ask yourself if you have ever questioned what they fed you, or do you just shut your eyes and then consume it? And now ask yourself if you ate every one of Biden's lies under guise of harm reduction and the promise of a slight improvement. And now imagine long ago that Biden chose to show you who he really was by traumatizing you for his amusement. Now imagine that you watched him touch a Bible with those filthy hands, and then assume the power of the highest seat in all the land, of knowing your attacker wields a global coalition born of three-letter agencies who'll make a life's mission out of trying to discredit you through lies, damn lies, and collusion. Big tech is never gonna separate from our surveillance state. Fuck's sakes, they're just a breath away from total fusion. So there will come a time where even if you see the light, your voice will never reach the sky through all the bots and all the noise pollution. So trust us when we tell you that the masking of abuses is perhaps this country's oldest institution. And I know nothing nobler than facing it in honor of the truth when you know that the people holding power have been neutralizing truth since there was wet ink on the Constitution. So know that Tara's truth is something crucial to the movement. And if you see yourself a partner to the revolution, help this country see through all the baseless propaganda through the crux of Joe's illusions. And recognize that Tara Reade gave everything she had so she could tell us what the truth is. Recognize the decent thing to do when someone bears their soul and shows their bruises is not to ask for context or offer up your own solutions. Your job is just to listen with an honest mind and put yourself on Tara's side a moment so you understand the path she chooses. That there is no instant fame worth the dragging of your name. And if that's what you think, you've a lot to learn about the kind of facts the mob can handle and the kind that it refuses. You've a lot to learn about the news and all its many uses. Guess you've yet to learn the truth the news will serve as fruit from which they've squeezed out all the juices. And we all eat the husk and just pretend it's full of nutrients and isn't really useless. But the jaws of our ability to yield accountability are absolutely toothless. So don't you kid yourself that any lips are being loosened. They won't ever tell us where the bodies are or show us where the proof is. It's on you to recognize the lechery our president so regularly oozes. It's on you to muster up some honesty and ask yourself how Biden won your trust, but it's America that loses. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises. Open up your eyes and learn to recognize the bruises.
They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains and bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph or Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe, and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus and a Congress full of parasites. And where was I? I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte. Train them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night. Bleed the oil barons dry and barren. Say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Tell them I contracted rabies from a feral mic. Now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights. Forced to change its habits and adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you bought the lie. But I can tell they're petrified of our collective might, 'cause I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the
Good evening, everyone. This is the Politics of Survival. I'm your host, Tara Reade, and I have a special guest that I told you about, live from Moscow, early in the morning there, late at night here. But we love to get together, and I would love her opinions as we kind of walk through what just happened with the recent midterm elections and kind of the perspective, the international perspective, actually, on kind of watching America scramble around and try to figure out who is actually leading the country, which is still unclear even now, even though it's the weekend almost and the election was last Tuesday. So welcome everyone to Politics of Survival, and we're going to have a great discussion with Maria Butina. Maria.
Hey. Well,
Hey,
should I say happy Friday still, right? And happy Saturday for me.
happy Saturday to you. And well, first tell our audience what you do, like because you do a lot of different things, but give them your official title, but then also tell them kind of what you do day to day. That would be really fun.
All right. So I serve on the committee, Foreign Affairs Committee in the state Duma. This is like your House of Representatives. So it's a lower chamber of Russian Parliament. We have a Senate, like you guys do, and we also have the Duma, which is like the House of Representatives. We have elections once in 5 years, so it's a longer term than you have. And we are so the members they spread divided into different committees, and we have on it like you do in education and health committee, and I do serve on the foreign relations. So I'm responsible for actually the international stuff. We have friendship groups with different countries, and going pretty well now. I'm focusing on, believe it or not, Africa is my focus of interest. I just came back from Rwanda, extremely excited about the continent, seeing, learning, and it's like a different universe, which is so much like we guys are, but so much different because every continent has its specifics. So Africa does too. And so my day-to-day basis is dealing with people with the Russians who got in trouble abroad. That happens, it happens with the US citizens as well. And also I do work with the parliaments of different countries. So I just mentioned that we just got back from Rwanda. This is our delegation. And there we were representing Russian parliament, me and my colleagues actually from the committee, showing and talking about Russian perspective on the upcoming events. So we brought actually the main issue, and many African countries agreed with us that the most important point for today is, believe it or not, the environmental problems, the food problem, the water problem, because if you don't just look on Russia, Ukraine, Western countries, and our agendas and elections and stuff, you would realize that the whole world is now really worried about the climate change and about all these natural disasters that they have. But unfortunately, the Parliamentary Assembly, it's the oldest group, international group that unites parliaments from more than 185 countries. For some reason, the United States is not on the panel. Like, I don't know why you guys didn't join the organization. And so we tried to talk about the most important points, but the Western countries were pushing the Russia-Ukraine agenda, like the third time, I guess, which actually, if I may use this language, it just pissed off African countries and also Pakistan. Which said, like, guys, we're suffering. We have these poverty problems and the water problem, and you just only talk about you. It's just about me. It just, we have conflicts every day in Africa, and nobody seems to care. So, and believe it or not, I do think it's a fair point. So the world is not just concentrated on the Western agenda.
Yeah, the world is wide and large. And what is going on with you also work with with the friendship, you were talking about that, the friend getting together and trying to understand, other people's points of view and that kind of thing. So what is the feeling for the Americans that are in Russia right now and, at university or doing whatever they're doing or working, and how is that for them right now? And are they reaching out to you?
Well, I'll be honest with you. So when just the special military operation got started, and when there was so much Russophobia in the West, my biggest worry, besides Russians, was that some Americans might face some problems in Russia because, the hate, and I will never let it happen because I know how it feels to be canceled. when it was a February before my arrest, before I went to prison and went through horrible days. But before all that, they started to like pop up these articles on the Daily Beast and, you know, CNN and all this stuff saying like, oh, she might be a Russian spy. And my classmates, I was studying in the American University in Washington, D.C., SIS actually. So if somebody is from SIS, hi guys. So yeah, I graduated there, and like my second year was a nightmare because nobody would even sit next to me. I was.
Are you serious?
I am absolutely serious. Look,
Wow.
okay, I don't blame guys. Okay, I don't blame them because what happened basically my school, the SIS school, the School of International Service, an American university, it gives education for future diplomats, for people who work for government. And when I applied, I didn't know that. I applied because it's one of the best schools of international affairs in the world.
Yes.
So I was very excited, and I wrote this essay, and I passed all my GRE. Oh, they were hard. All these tests, TOEFL and stuff. So I got scholarships, and I didn't know all about this politics stuff. I didn't much care, honestly. And then I learned that all these people need to get security clearances. So they would delete me and ban me on Facebook. Yeah, absolutely. They wouldn't sit next to me. They wouldn't say hi to me, because if they need to fill this application on the security form for security clearance, they would mention my name and a Russian name, Russian citizen, they might not pass. So I was typically turned off from the community, and I know how it feels. So I do have several American friends here living in Moscow. They feel fine. They feel actually great. And but they are more canceled at home. So they got enormous pressure from their homeland, from the United States, saying like they are traitors and stuff. But talking to Russians in general, I can judge. I don't know. But these people are under my personal protection. And if somebody is mean, if somebody, God bless, says something rude or something racist or something like that, I have a lot of international friends. I serve in the international committee. They're going to deal with me because I know how it feels. Look, I saw how it could be in the United States, and I will never let it happen in Russia, because we just like, not all Americans are bad. I love your country. I admire many of you guys, great people. And we are very much alike, more than the politicians try to say we are. We are. And I don't want in my country so anybody discriminates anyone. I just can't let it happen.
Well, you know, that's really generous spirited of you, especially considering how you were treated in the United States. You know, that you say that. And
by the government, not by the people. I separate that.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. You separate out between the government elites or whatever, the way they're running things. And they are really very focused on making Russia the enemy, and have been really hard going at it since 2016. Of course, it went on for decades before, but like most recently, the neoliberal crowd, the hawks, neocons, we just need an enemy. And so that's unfortunately what's been going on. And one of the things that just happened recently with the midterm elections is a lot of the Republicans that were running on the fact that they would stop sending money to Ukraine and start doing diplomacy with Russia and start that friendship again. So you had these Republicans running for office that were making those promises. However, when there was funding up, for the Ukraine war, there's 50 billion that's going to be on the table in January. 400 million just got sent, I think, 2 days ago by the Pentagon. But of course they can't afford to give American citizens health care. But anyway, that's another thing. But so these Republicans were running on that. They were saying, we're going to turn off the spigot to Ukraine. Like we're going to start making friends with Russia. and these were mostly Republicans saying this, not any Democrats. And so now here we are with the midterm elections. And I know, when you watched it, what was your kind of view of that, listening to that, right? And hearing
well, I can tell you, my view is 3 words, 3 same words: shock, shock, shock. You're kidding me. You cannot count it. And now they say until December. Like, we are looking at you like the example of democracy, the election process. You told us you are, and now I was following the elections. I don't try to interfere in anything, but our constitution is very much like yours. Our election process is very much like yours. So yeah, I've been on a couple of endorsements, like by Scott Walker, and the poor guy, he became like, again, canceled because of me. I didn't even meet him. I just came at his endorsement in the crowd, just because being excited as a student to see how it works, because we don't do such stuff. And it's interesting to learn different countries, and I speak English. So I can afford understanding, which is very rare for Russians. Unfortunately, there are not so many people speaking in okay English. And and now I'm watching the elections, and I was all excited on the next day to see. I follow different. You have all these apps where you can see the seats and stuff, and I hear they say, "Oh, it's not going to be announced today, not tomorrow." Not the day after tomorrow, and now they say it's going to be the second round. We call it the runoff, I think. It's going to be, it's going to be in December. Seriously, and I'm just we are here. We don't know what to say. Like I consider myself as a person who spent some time, almost 5 years, being in the United States. I don't understand what's going on. I don't want to build any theories because I'm not involved in the process. I don't know. I'm just a side watcher, but it's a shock. It's a shock. I don't know what people think about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, Reeve, could you bring up the map right now where we're at with the? Okay, there we go. Do you mind reading off like where we're at with the House and the Senate?
No, I don't. In the Senate, 47 for Dems. In the Senate, 48 for the GOP. And in the House, we've got 199 seats for the Dems and 211 for GOP.
And it's just frozen. Tara, it's just frozen for many days. And we're watching this, and it doesn't feel fine. I mean, it feels
no. And the other thing to bear in mind too, Marie, is that how much money was spent on these political races. Like, I think it was 60 million was spent on Beto O'Rourke's race in Texas. Close to that was spent on Stacey Abrams' race in Georgia. I think. Reef, do you offhand know the number?
I can look them up. I can look them up.
Okay, really cool. But double-digit millions, and they just like pour money into these races. And both of those candidates, by the way, lost badly. They were bad candidates. And it just makes you wonder, the politicians keep telling us they don't have money for our infrastructure, for education, for healthcare, to help people. And yet they're spending multi-millions, on this. And then of course on the war, the proxy war they're fighting against Russia via Ukraine. So,
well, let me tell you this. If there are guys who are ready to talk and who want to build communication with Russia, look, we're not enemies. I don't have horns. I just really don't. And I know how they try to demonize Russia. I'm watching now. I've never seen it, to my shame, Oliver Stone's The Untold History of the United States. It's a movie series, a TV show, which has I think 10 episodes, and I'm on the 4th. And it talks about the McCarthy times, the Red Scare, and it's like it's going on today. So all these movies about all these scary Russians, like, where are you heading?
It's neo-McCarthyism, they call it. Yes, yes. And it's really silly. And you know, there are citizens, Maria, that still think that Russia is communist. And it's like, well, okay. Like if you think Russia is communist, then you don't even know what's going on because it's capitalist. Now, granted, you're kind of in the honeymoon phase of capitalism, like you're in the good phase. You're seeing the United States in the bad phase. Like it's a cycle, right? All political systems are a cycle. And right now we're on the downside of capitalism, and it's been taken down by greed, by a very few people. So, you know, like the media companies, right? Like all the censorship you're seeing, 22 companies own media, well, all the Western media. That's not very many. So
it's lacking to read some good. Well, there are some good analytics there, but it's so much politicized. Look, sometimes for me as a scientist, as a researcher, I just want to read, let's say, about elections without somebody's perspective, just about the process. But you can't read about the process because you open any article and it says, openly says, is it pro-Democrats or pro-Republicans? And you can see, oh, the elections are such and such. Like, how about just, look, I respected, this is the past tense, I respected in 2013, 2012, American journalists, because of the good investigation, when they actually do investigative reports, when they go and they spend time on verifying facts, it disappeared. You cannot find it anymore. And it makes me very sad because, well, it was my example, so I can and now when I write my articles, I always put a link to a certain source and where I took these numbers, took that information, because I respect my reader. So unfortunately, a lot of media in the United States just disrespect its readers because they feed you stuff like you're livestock, like really.
Right.
You're gonna chew it no matter what because you're hungry for information and because the information flood, it's so big. When you watch TV, it's so exaggerated. It hasn't been this way like 10 years ago. And now it's just whoever does it more, like a show. Right. You guys smart. It's not just about the show. It's about good analytics. And when you watch it, it's like the whole elections is like a circus.
Well, you know the saying, they want Americans just smart enough to run the machines, and that's it. So
sometimes machines don't work. We saw that too.
The machines don't work. But like what I've found really stunning about this is, a lot of taxes are paid, and part of those taxes are supposed to be for fair and accurate elections. Most places in the world, like look at Brazil, like you knew who was president, you knew what was going on the next day. Like, how hard is it? And then
Russia does it next day.
Yeah.
Like we know mathematics, and you guys too, by the way. There were a couple of interesting races that I was following. Especially, of course, I mean, everybody's watching Florida, of course, and the governor race. All right. The second term of DeSantis, and we were watching that too. Very interesting because the guy is strong. And again, I don't put here any politics. I know his position on Russia, at least what he has been vocal about, but I don't want to put politics here. I just want to talk as a citizen, as a scientist. He's a strong guy, and he takes an interesting stand on this traditional conservatism, which I haven't seen for many years. And am I right? He's a Latino, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like, and it looks like he takes the Latinos the votes because of the immigration policy. You guys have a lot of people coming across the board, and they're gonna get the citizenship over time, and they're gonna change the map, and you're gonna change the population balance. And I do believe that the Democrats are extremely wrong if they think that the Latinos who are naturalized in the United States are going to vote for them. They will not.
Well, yeah, and
They
you know
will
what's
vote against immigration policies because
Mhm.
it increases the competitive. It gets more competitive to the work field, and they're going to vote Republican. And when you try to manipulate with a population like that, that's what I see. Like it's just my view as an outsider. It's going to change the map, but not in the Dems' favor.
I think you know that's very astute. I think that's very interesting. Because already, yeah, the population tends to vote more conservative in that way. But what's interesting too is how like the Democrats used to be considered the ones that were part of the peace movement, and now they're the warmongers.
Right.
And then the Republicans are the ones that are calling for peace, right? Like they don't want the money to keep going to this proxy war; they want it to stop.
Oh, Tara,
And
one more question that might be interesting because you and me are ladies. I looked at the turnout, and it seems to be each year you have more women coming and voting. And I haven't seen the final numbers on the turnout of the female and the leadership, and it looks like we are coming to power. And
yeah,
but they expected, again, I don't know. I can only look, I read a lot of American stuff and news and stuff. But again, I'm not in the process, so I can't judge. So I'm outsider here. However, it looks like the idea with the abortion to split females on the who is pro and against abortions, it didn't work because women came to vote for economics, for the money, for the family income. That worried, like we're not stupid, not dumb. And the thing that worries us is exactly the same thing as worries men. And we pay a lot of attention to the money that our family gets. So we can pay our rent because the rent in the States, I rented a place. It's extremely expensive. And
it is
now people lose houses. And because you guys, it's not a tradition in America to so much to buy a house, or you move a lot. Like in Russia, we don't move a lot. We kind of live in one place. But you move a lot. And many people just simply cannot afford to pay the rental. And that's what worries women. And so they go. And I do believe they're going to vote more and more Republican just because it's about the money.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that. I mean, there is definitely a shift. I think that the Democrats are getting further and further away from their base. They definitely let down the progressives, or sort of the lefties. They did not do one bit of legislation that would help the working class. And I think the working class is tired of it. But both parties. I'm gonna kind of put this to you in this way. I think that they're two sides of the same coin, right? They're just you get one, you get the same, you get the other. If we had Republicans in, they'd be going to war with China. We have Democrats in, they're going to war with Russia. It's like it has something to do with the power structure itself and how much money it costs to run for office. So now you just have these legacy people that are running, and you have a lot of people that have a great deal of access to money, or billionaires, but you don't have very much representation for a third party, which citizens really do want. And they knock out the third party option off the ticket. I mean, this happened in this midterm election. The Democrats made sure that the Green Party was knocked off. And then one of them, Matthew Ho, he was a Green Party member. He sued and he won and stayed on the ticket. And Republicans will do the same. Like if an independent runs, they try to get them off the ticket because they consider them splitting the vote, right? But we don't have very many options. So you're just given this duopoly, Republican, Democrat, blue team, red team, but it's an illusion because corporations fund both of them. They kind of just pay both sides to the middle, so to speak, right? So whoever wins, they still have influence. And anyway, that's kind of my opinion. I'm very disappointed right now in the electoral. I don't have it.
It looks like this way. Look, I do believe that there is a certain. So the political parties, they still matter. meaning there are people that are actors. I call actors as a subject, as a people who makes an action, all right? So there are people who can influence politics, but they got banned. Do you remember Wallace? I watched an Oliver Stone, and I remember
Yeah.
he was a great guy. Like I was watching his speeches, and he talks about the new time of an average person, just an ordinary man, about his or her rights, about fair salary. And he talks, he's not a socialist. No, he says, if you want to compete with the USSR those days, right? With the USSR, let's be a good capitalism where people can earn their fair money, where they work and they earn. And nobody just, puts them on these pennies to work days and nights. Just let's be fair. And you know what? He was so successful. He was around Roosevelt. And at some point, when there is this Democratic convention, he just disappears from the radars and from the majority of the population, or at least from the Democrat Party. He has only like 2% in several years, which means they just cut him off because he was against these all corporations, and he was just average Americans for the great America. And
you need a healthy working class, right? You need, because if you don't have a healthy working class with a living wage, you don't have the middle class. And isn't that what Vladimir Putin did for Russia, right? When after the Soviet Union collapsed, and then you had countries, America included, in there kind of stealing from the coffers, kind of taking advantage. He built up a middle class. He built up a working class.
Well, we have our issues. We are on the way, I'd say. And, it's so much because I'm, I consider myself still a young person. Yesterday, I turned 34. So I'm probably already old. Okay.
Oh, happy birthday. I'm so sorry.
That's why it's mess in my office, because I live like a floral orangery, like in a flowers house. And there are so many flowers here because I get, smells like beautiful, but not that much because you have so many. But it's very nice when people come and congratulate.
Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you
so everyone,
much.
Audience members, go in there on the chat and wish Maria a happy birthday.
Thank you,
That's wonderful. That's close to my daughter's. My daughter's is November 9th. So,
really? No kidding.
November 9th.
Well, I have something related to my birthday in the United States, which is I'm fond of these memories until today. I tried my first time to fly a little plane. I took a flying class on my birthday.
Oh, you're so lucky. That's wonderful. Yeah.
In the States. Yeah. So, well, I hope to do it more here in Russia someday, but I just didn't have a chance because of so much work. But I have so sweet memories about that.
What was that like?
Oh, what?
What was that like for you to fly the airplane? You got to actually
yeah, absolutely. So I was like, I don't know this word in English. It's in a car you call it a wheel. Probably for a plane you call it a wheel too. I don't know. Maybe there is a specific term.
No, it's wheel. Yeah.
Okay, it wheel. Yeah. And it's unforgettable feeling. Once in a lifetime, hopefully I'll get it twice, but then 3 times, and maybe get a pilot's license. I was actually dreaming of getting that maybe in the United States, but then I was sent to prison, so that happens. Anyway.
It happens. Yeah. I remember the way you said that. Oh, that happens. No.
Well, I do believe that if I get depressed, if I rejected all the medications on prison. I didn't want to take all these psycho pills. I didn't want to sleep all the time because, yes, I did suffer, but I prefer my mind to be healthy because of my parents who have been waiting for me all these days. I couldn't come back home being insane, because I saw the girls that were medicated so much that they would take pills every day and they would sleep day and night. They just eat once a day and sleep, eat and sleep, eat and sleep. That's all. In a month, you're going to become a vegetable. Anyway, so talking about, coming back to Russian middle class. Well, we are on the way. Okay, it takes a lot of time because the economy, look, we faced a huge challenge. We had to restructure the economy from the USSR to the new Russia. And you can't just do it just in one moment on the blink of an eye. No, it doesn't work. And you have to build all these government structures and all the laws. And of course, you have troubles on the way, but we are trying. And I remember my father had a business, and he just built business by himself. It's a small internship, and he used to make a furniture. He had a furniture little factory, and he worked very hard. And he had 2, 3, sometimes 10 people tops, and he would do many things by himself. And I saw how it works to earn this money. And I remember how hard it was in terms of law and taxes and all this bureaucracy during the 90s and the 2000s. And now we have, and thanks to the internet, you can put all these forms and taxes, you can file it online, and you can go through any bureaucracy online, and you can register a firm. Look, I was excited those days when I registered my company, little LLC, in the United States, which then everybody said, oh, this is a scam. No, it wasn't a scam. It was my little advertisement company, which I had the full right to establish according to my visa regulations. I followed all the visa rules. And I had this little company. It has one little contract, and I was planning to make a show, but it didn't happen because it happens. I went to prison. But anyway, and I know it was so easy in America to register, and now it's even simpler in Russia. So, and I'm a parliamentarian, so I know both sides, and I try to implement good stuff from you guys and improve them here in Russia. And we kind of get.
And you have family leave, you have parental leave and stuff, and benefits for families, right?
Yeah, we do. And actually, we have now our President Putin. They made this special program for family businesses. I do represent in the State Duma. I was elected from the Kirov. It's a region in Russia, and I have 3 families in what we call a president's list, which are like they run generations of business. One of them, they make Russian dumplings, so they are great. I mean, so they have people who work for them, but also the whole family, and the grandparents and parents and the kids, aunts and uncles and brothers, sisters. They all work for this company. It's called a dream, like mечта in Russian, and a dream translates.
What's the word?
A dream in Russian. Mечта, like a dream, like a fantasy, not a dream as a sleep, but a fantasy dream. And so they do all these nice dumplings, and they do all the kinds with cottage cheese. Russians love with cottage cheese, and fish and meat and all these things. And the second company, which is in President's list, they have special privileges as a family business, which is very important. So they can continue and pass it to their generations ahead. So the second company is about, they do sell and make glasses, lenses, glasses.
Right.
And especially, they also have this little medical office for the kids who have eyesight problems, and they need surgeries and stuff. So this is a family business. And so I'm excited with both of them. And the third one, they have a furniture factory, which they make all this, little kitchen stuff and all the things. And we do have preferences for business. And this is how we try by baby steps to establish not just people who earn and run, like not wrong capital. A wrong capitalist doesn't care about the future. He just takes the money. It doesn't matter who suffers on the way. You just step on others' heads and you go wherever you want to go, wherever you had it. But a good capitalist, I believe, builds a good capitalism society where working hard, meaning earning well, where you earn well. So that's what we are trying to build. I do work with small businesses a lot because my dad was an entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur. I know the problems we might have, and we're trying to step by step to solve these problems here. We helped during the pandemic a lot. So let's say what Russian government did, we didn't give money. We didn't give just money to people. Well, to those who needed really, yes, government helped. And they gave just money, but especially to the families and to women who are lonely, lone mothers. They don't have husbands and they raise children by their own. They were given money. But also they gave all this, not the money per se, but they gave privileges to businesses. So let's say they didn't need to pay taxes. They didn't have any checks during those days. And until today, because of the sanctions and because we have to restructure our economy, which is, kind of, it goes well. We have to do numerous stuff now, but in the parliament, and we all work in the 24/7 mode, but it's working. And we also give privileges to the businesses because we don't want government to be just, the head, as they try to show us in the United States. No, that's not what's going on in Russia. We try to push businesses to actually grow, to actually make generations of middle class. So
it's important. It's important. I noticed that your country gave benefits during the pandemic when ours did not. I mean, you can't count a $1,400 check. Like that's not, because you lived in America, that doesn't go anywhere,
My apartment was 220.
Your apartment?
2022. Okay, 2,200. Okay, that's right.
2,200. So it wouldn't even cover rent.
One bedroom. Okay, it was not an elite, cool people living around. No, you can check it out. The one place in Washington D.C. It's just one bedroom, one bed, one bath. And I had to pay a lot, and plus utilities on top. And guess what? And I didn't have a car. I was walking 20-25 minutes to the campus because there was nothing closer that I could rent, filing all these applications. So they actually accept me as, as a rentee. It's hard and it's expensive. So 1,400, nothing. I mean, you go to a grocery store, you leave $100 right away.
Yeah.
And now the gas is so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, right now, it's even more expensive than when you were here, but in this 1 year alone, food prices are up 25%. Gas prices are up even higher. In fact, right now it's still where I live. It's still $5-6 a gallon. And down in Los Angeles, it's $8 a gallon still. In some places, $7-6. It hasn't really gone down at all. And, what's really frustrating is the politicians keep getting on television saying everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, no. I remember gas was like 180. Like I was actually driving around the country and going from Washington to Virginia to Maryland. It was like 180, $2. Like, don't believe them. I remember the prices because when I left, I remember the numbers. Yeah. And people kind of tend to, so they rise it more and more and then say, oh, look, these prices, they're coming down. Yeah, but they rose like 40% over time. It doesn't count. It's cheating.
It's very difficult. And then, we're about in the United States, we're 2.5 weeks away from being out of diesel fuel, which is a very big deal. Very big deal. We're going to be out of diesel fuel. There's a supply issue. And because of the proxy war that the US and NATO are fighting against Russia via Ukraine and all the upset it's caused, the United States is almost out of diesel fuel. And they've been talking about it on some channels, not on all Western media.
Wait, Tara, but you have a lot of oil, like you have the Bakken oil fields.
I'm talking about, so diesel is what like runs trucks, like all our supplies, trains, everything. So when that runs out, if we don't have reserves, you can imagine.
Shut down.
So we're very close to that. And it was in the news a little bit. And then with the midterm elections, it's like it just kind of got buried, but it will come back up in the next week or so. Next week or so, they're still talking about what they're going to do to solve this issue with the shortage of fuel.
So I understand. Is it about refinery? Because you do have oil reserves.
We have reserves, but we've already tapped into the reserves. So there's going to be, and then you have the feds are trying to stave off the risk, because they say we're going into a recession. They're trying to stave it off with high interest. Hey, Reef, what did you bring up? You brought up an article?
Yeah, I see.
U.S. diesel shortages squeeze farmers, homeowners, and White House. U.S. diesel inventories are at near record lows, rating a wide swath of the economy from fuel suppliers to farmers. I think it has to do with the diesel's not less refined than like just average petroleum. So like we have petroleum reserves, but not
would you guys
large diesel
send me
reserves.
This link? I would like to read about it because I was following this. And you know what was surprise? It was a big surprise for me in the States. You actually guys almost don't have railroads. So you do have good roads, all right? But everything on trucks. All the supplies, they run back and forth on trucks. Meaning if you don't have diesel, it's a disaster.
It's a disaster. Even the trains, though, Maria, run on diesel. Trains here. And we have a very, as you know, and I've been told by friends in Moscow how beautiful the subway system is there, and I mean, there's London.
It looks like, and now they have more. So they added one more circle. So Moscow is, because it was a castle, it's all built by circles. And also inside of the metro, the same thing. We have like the Sadovaya, which was around the Kremlin, and the third transport circle. I don't know how to translate it, but it doesn't matter. And now we added one more. And love you guys, but the New York Metro, Washington DC Metro is kind of fine.
It's pretty good. It's it's Paris, so right? Slow. Kind of like the Paris Metro a little bit, but not as fast. Yeah.
Just about the States Metro, Washington Metro is so weird. Meaning all this pain, like you have to pay here, so you go there. In Moscow, it's one ticket. And the stations underground, they just like monuments, like museums, They're beautiful. And then I came to New York, and all this red and people, and it's just really, it's New York.
It's
you guys,
disgusting.
There are tourists there.
I know.
Can you just clean the metro a bit,
I know, it's super sad. All right, what are you showing there, Reef? Is that?
That's Moscow Metro.
Yeah.
Well, could you please show us Mayakovskaya, Mayakovskaya. Okay, should be some close. Metro station is going to show it to you. It's a green one. Yeah, that's it. I just my favorite one. So sorry for showing it to you.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, that's
it's like a palace. It's beautiful. It really looks this way.
Well, I hope I can see it someday.
Yep.
Maybe.
Hopefully, who knows? You never know.
Yes.
You're always welcome, though.
Yeah, I would like that. So, and so back to what we were discussing about the diesel. So that's going to be a big deal because that's going to really shut things down. But notice that we're coming up after the midterms, now a bunch of things are going to happen. For instance, the diesel fuel crisis is going to happen, and the recession is probably going to kick in, because a bunch of mass last week kind of got buried in the news of the midterm elections, but there were mass layoffs in tech. Intel, as a big employer here in Oregon, just laid off thousands of people. Some other, I think there was like 7 companies in total. What was the other ones, Reef? Do you remember? Most major ones, but they're all kind of laying off. And of course, Twitter did. That was Elon Musk doing his thing, but that was a little.
I just had a thought. So maybe he's talking about firing all these people because of politics, but the real reason is that they just don't want to pay them. Meaning everybody cuts the stuff. And so let's say you want to kind of find a different reason. And you show it's like, oh, it's a principle in politics, and you're going to hire new people, and you probably won't.
Yep. We'll see what happens. I'm just wondering if the platform is going to exist, continue to exist, but we'll find out. Hopefully, I mean, it's useful for people that are doing business and doing communication type things. It is a useful platform, but who knows? We lived without it before. We'll live without it again. We'll find something.
We have a different one. We have a Russian one. It's called
VK. What's that?
It's called VK. VK. It's like V like victory, and K, VK.com. And that are you. It's an interesting one. So me as a parliamentarian, I love it because I have a lot of people who can, people who vote for me. They can actually talk to me through the platform, and I do it on my own. Meaning I don't have special staff who would be dealing with that, because I just love people. I spent 4 months in solitary confinement. I love people. I learned my lesson. And, but it's not a lesson from the American government. It's the lesson from God. And he just showed me that we were born to be around people, and I love people. So I love my job, and I love when people ask me to help them. And we're very excited because like half a year ago, me and my friend, she's a wonderful lady, she's a businesswoman, we did some very nice things for kids who have autism. And we bought them these wonderful wheelchairs because they have certain disabilities. And so they made a whole dance. We have a dancing competition for the kids who cannot walk actually and have some issues. And now before the New Year's, because Christmas is coming, well, don't tell them. We're going to present some other stuff for the kids, and they were so happy. That's what makes me happy.
I've worked with kids. I don't know if I shared that with you because I like equine therapy and working with horses. They help people with. So I worked with kids on the spectrum with horses, and there was a young girl who was autistic. She was on the spectrum, and she was a nonverbal. She wouldn't speak. And so we were having her on the horse, and then all of a sudden she was like almost 6 years old. And her mother had never heard her speak words. Like she would just kind of grunt and point, whatever, she would not speak. And then after about a half an hour of the riding, she started talking in full sentences to the horse. And wouldn't talk to the people, just talk to the horse. And the mom was just like crying. It was very moving. And then so every time she would come for her therapy, she would just talk to the horse. And so it was a very big breakthrough, but very interesting. They're very beautiful.
Believe or not, but I share it with you. I mean, this way of helping, because, well, in Russia, there are very cold winters. And sometimes these kids, they just can't get to the horse because of the weather conditions. Here's what we did. They have this, you will tell me the word because I don't know in English. They have special chairs they sit on when they're on the horse.
Right. It's called adaptive riding.
Saddle, right? Cattle, yeah. So, and they have this saddle. They have this very special machine that makes like emulates the move of the horse, and it's a saddle a kid sits on it. So they don't break the therapy during their winter times. So we bought a couple of those and gave it to the kids last year. I'm going to meet their parents very soon and see how it goes. But the parents were so happy. Yeah, I know this stuff. I know it helps. It helps a lot, especially if it's during certain age when it's still forming. I mean, the body and the brain is forming. And yeah, I've heard their situations like yours when kids start talking and walking.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because horses have the parasympathetic system that matches ours, and they can hear our heartbeat like a few 100 feet away, like a horse can. And so that's why they're really good with like veterans with PTSD, or anyone that suffered trauma. Horses are very helpful in healing. It's more somatic healing, in other words, like hands-on healing, whereas talk therapy doesn't always work for PTSD, for trauma. Talking about it doesn't help, right, all the time. So sometimes just being in a calmer environment, being with a horse, it just kind of helps and heals. But I believe in that. I'm glad that you do that work, Maria, and that's wonderful. I'm glad that you have those programs with the adaptive riding. That's really cool.
Tara, because guess what? We're not demons, okay? As they try to demonize us, like with just people.
Oh, I don't think that way, Maria. I don't.
Yes, yeah. and I hope that people who are listening, watching us right now, they just, okay, I don't tell you guys change your mind. Just use your mind, okay? Use your brain, and don't get into all this propaganda crap.
Well,
like, honest, just don't let them feed your news.
Well, and they were loading on the propaganda this week because of the withdrawal from Kherson, that Russia did. And my analysis of that was just that they basically made a decision strategically to save civilian lives and didn't want, like, if that dam had been damaged and there was flooding, it would have trapped civilians and soldiers, and there would have been a huge loss of life. And unfortunately, in the American culture, Maria, and you saw it with Afghanistan, you saw it with Iraq, Iran, Syria, we could go on, but there's the scorch the earth mentality with the military in the US. And I think what just happened, rather than look at it as something that Russia did, that's something, like a withdrawal, it wasn't a withdrawal. They still have the territory. What it was strategic so that thousands of people didn't die. And anyway, that's my take.
Well, nobody talks about that, and but everybody is talking about what we should or should not do. But again, well, let me remind you something. And
everybody's a military strategist.
Well, it's a different continent from the United States. It's a question to the US people. Why, when you cannot pay your bills, you have to pay Ukrainian government bills? Isn't it a question? Who said that? So you guys pay taxes, and for us, it's the question of our border, right? It's the question of Russian national security, right? And whatever is going on, it's a different continent, and you have your own stuff to work on, definitely. And that's what your government must do. You elected these people, so they can serve. They must serve you as people, and they serve to what? Ukrainian government. So the military complex can just work and produce more and more guns, putting all of us on the edge of the nuclear catastrophe. That's where we're heading. Seriously,
I know.
Very sad. And
nobody
is talking that once Ukrainians take the territories, they kill people. They call them traitors and they shot them. Like hundreds of people. And there is no coverage in the US media about that. Nothing. Absolutely. Isn't it fair? Not to me, not to Russians, to those people who have been shot just for nothing.
It's tragic and it's heartbreaking. And, I've been speaking out against it. And many people do. There are many American citizens that are against what's going with the American involvement and NATO involvement. I think people are more and more waking up to the fact that NATO pushed for the last 20 years, pushed the borders and is up against Russian borders. What is Russia supposed to do but protect its borders and its sovereign nation and the people? You know, the loss of 14,000 souls, you know, in the Donbass region, that by their own government, by the Kiev regime, I guess we'll call it a regime, because actually Victoria Nuland was responsible for installing that, you know, the American government, you know, they colluded and did that. And we wouldn't even know that if it wasn't for Julian Assange. And I think you and I talked about this before. I don't think there would be a lot of knowledge around it had Julian Assange not risked his freedom to publish the truth about Madonna, about the coup. So now, you know, again, it goes back to that bigger picture issue, right? Of the unipolar versus the multipolar world, and America holding on to its power at all costs instead of like cooperating with the Eastern nations and other nations, like, you know, like look what's happening with BRICS. I think this is a very positive thing. I think 2 more nations signed on, right? To BRICS.
It's I just got an analogy in my mind. It's like we were talking about good and bad capitalism. So, and it's exactly like the uni and multipolar world. Imagine that you have a one company that can dictate the prices, that can hire and fire people and pay them as much as this company wants, because it's a monopoly. It's going to grow big, and it's going to do anything the company wants. And now imagine, this is a bad capitalism, okay? Chronic capitalism, very bad one. A good one that the United States was headed to was a good capitalism, when you have many companies that are competing, and those who work hard and produce the best product and treat its workers the best, they get the checks. That's fine. That's a good capitalism. And the United States now is trying to, on the international level, be in a unipower. It's like being a monopoly in the bad capitalism. It's trying to resist to build a good, competitive atmosphere so everybody profits. Sorry, just got an analogy. I thought it was.
I was really astute. That's a really good analogy. Hey, Reef, do we have any questions or comments for Maria? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And there's happy birthdays. Happy birthdays. We'll have to look back at the chat and see the happy birthdays, Maria.
Yeah, I will. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Thank you for this wonderful conversation. So I think we should repeat like in a couple of weeks. Tara, I love you and love your show. I think you have a great future as a journalist. I know you're a blogger, but if you ever decide, you can do it. Absolutely. I think it's kind of interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? And I really appreciate, you know, our conversations. I really want you to know that there are many people in the United States that do not follow the propaganda, Maria, and appreciate Russia and its beautiful history and beautiful culture and innovation. And we will, I think it's conversations like this and us trying to, I don't know, bring more information to people that just are kind of getting barraged with negative things in the news, and just give them the more human conversations of what, you know, everyone's doing. Because
I think this is just awesome, because it, like, look, I speak your language and I worry about the same things and I do the same things as you do. And I'm not a demon, definitely not. And by the way, I have always been this way. That's what I told to the FBI in the debrief room. I said, guys, you're kidding me. You're kidding me, right? Like, I'm not an agent. I'm not a foreign agent. I'm not a spy. I wasn't trying to harm you. I came here and I passed your exams. I got enrolled into your school. I pay you checks, okay? Just because I want to learn about you. I'm curious mind. That's all.
Yeah.
And you praised me? You made me a demon? Like, seriously.
You're a beautiful soul, Maria, and curiosity and wonder are something that should drive the human condition rather than, you know, hate and ignorance. That's my belief.
And thanks to you, we're going to get keep doing this, because
Okay.
I'm going to fight for peace no matter what, because this is the biggest value and treasure of our lives is peace. And I hope people on the top, and especially average people, are going to get this.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining the discussion, and to my audience members, thank you for joining us. I want to say thank you to INN and to Reef, who has done all the engineering and stayed up really late tonight to be with us. And Maria, always just so lovely to have conversations with you. I admire you. I always learn from you, and it's just it's a lot of fun, and getting to know, your perspective, and I think that one thing I've always said every time we have had a conversation, it strikes me that you have no bitterness in your heart for what happened to you. In fact, you've transformed that into service to others, and that's really beautiful. And I think other people could look to you for an example. So, happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Monday, we have a special show. I have a award-winning director, producer. She did a documentary on whistleblowers, female whistleblowers. So one of the whistleblowers was in that movie. She kind of blew the whistle on the Iraq War and the lies that the British government were talking about. So they did a movie. Keira Knightley was in it. It was based on that. Rose McGowan was also in that documentary, and another whistleblower. So it'll be really fascinating to hear their different perspectives of what it was like to come forward and then have to deal with the consequences from their governments. So that'll be Monday. Join us at 11 a.m. Pacific. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.